All right, Sky Squad, we are back in the building for another Bell Collective review. We're talking about episode 3 of season 3. It's called Lying and Spying. Okay. So, I mean, let's talk about Bell Collective. Let's really get into some things. I got to tell you that for me, this season feels a bit disjointed to start with. And maybe because I feel like they're doing something that Love and Marriage Huntsville does and can kind of get away with. And that is filming a bunch of different scenes with a bunch of different people, but never putting them all together until maybe later on in the season. And perhaps that is the best way to tell the story. But for me, I said it last week, I feel like Bell Collective needs that. They need that like brunch. You know what I'm saying? They need that good old bottomless brunch that Letitia be throwing, okay? That gets all the girls together at the beginning of the season. You know what I'm saying? I feel like they need that. We missing that group event that really like pushes the envelope. And yes, we had the So Gucci event, but Akeisha was missing. You know, Marie didn't want to talk to Latrice. I can't stand. I gotta tell y'all the truth. I know. We following the reality, but I can't stand when cast members start doing this. Well, I'm not gonna film with this person. I ain't gonna film with that person. Now, granted, that may be the reality, but it don't make for a good show. You know what I'm saying? It starts to like I understand it because their drama seems like it started off season 1 like kind of like okay, it was a little messy, but like then we got to like the vitriol and I don't even know. It's like one of those situations like where did we go from here? But anyway, I digress. Minus all that, let's get into what I'm going to review this episode on a scale of 1 to 10. I'm going to give this episode about, I'm going to give it like an 8.5. I'm going to give it an 8.5 because, I mean, it was interesting. There was definitely some interesting moments. I feel like Akeisha is back and Akeisha provides the right amount of Southern/Northern shade as well as a healthy dose of wisdom on this show. Okay. Because we have three major storylines kind of really happening right now. One is Cliff and Latrice. Then we have, you know, Letitia and Glenn. Okay. And then you have the dynamics amongst the ladies, and you haven't really gotten any of them together yet. And so I feel like that's what's missing. So anyway, let's get into it. First scene is Latrice versus Gucci from Selena's Party for Star. Okay. Now, for those of you guys who are new here, Star is JJ's daughter with Selena, who many of you guys may know from Bring It. I'm assuming that's the show, right? Now, Selena is known on that show, but now she's being featured on this show because she used to be, well, I guess she's sort of JJ's baby mama. Okay. Were they married? Y'all let me know in the chatterization down below. I can't even, I'm not familiar with the show. So, and I got to be honest with y'all, but I'm interested in knowing a lot more about, you know, Miss Selena. But anyway, JJ is now married to So Gucci. So Latrice and So Gucci go outside for their Ponderosa. And essentially, this is what it boils down to. So Gucci is upset because she feels like Latrice stabbed her in the back, and she made it seem like she was going and showing her all of these different properties and stuff like that. Now, unless we missed that, I didn't see that. I saw one property. And again, I already told y'all how I felt. If we ain't get no documentation signed indicating there is an exclusive right to sell listing, baby, you was just serving a customer. And a customer does not equal a client, okay? Because otherwise, if she had signed that paperwork, even if she had bought that other property through that other realtor, she still would have owed you a commission. How about that? You know what I'm saying? So I just kind of feel like I get it to a certain degree. You was kind of maybe hoping she would do the purchase through you. It definitely would have been a great look for the show. But ultimately, you still got to like, I mean, according to Latrice, you wasn't about that hustle. okay? Because Latrice said you was too busy taking photos on the gram. Now, you got the banging body, so I mean, I'd take photos too if I was you. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, at the end of the day, it's like you got to put the business and personal to the side. Like they don't really mix. Just like you know, in this situation, friends and work and business don't work with Latrice and Josh. But we're gonna talk about that in a minute. So anyway, Gucci needs time to heal, and Latrice is gonna let her be mad for as long as she needs to be mad for. So that's about it. They at a stalemate. It kind of don't go nowhere. So Akeisha stops by Goddess Lens because Josh is going to be doing her makeup. Okay. Now they refer to each other as cousins, but I guess maybe it's just because they got that kind of familial relationship with each other or whatever. And so Josh ends up talking to Akeisha about living with Cliff and Latrice. He spills the tea about them sleeping in separate rooms. Okay. Apparently, Cliff had been eavesdropping on the conversation that we saw Josh and Latrice have back in episode 1 of this season. He also spills the tea about the M-Bar incident, you know, where Cliff had rolled up after tracking the location, okay, or however he did it, and called her a bee and a snake. Two things I ain't gonna never let go of, okay? It's like the toothpaste cannot be put back into the bottle. I've heard it and I cannot unhear it. All right. Now, at the end of the day, that tells me that you might be calling her something worse when we not around. All right. When the cameras ain't there. I don't like it. And that's just how I feel about it. Now, at the end of the day, too, Josh, now granted, this stuff might have happened on camera, but you telling this stuff to Miss Akeisha, it's a little too much. Okay, you're doing too much, friend. Okay, if your resolve from last week was to stay out of their business, then you should probably leave their business to their business and leave you and Akeisha's business to y'all business, which is the makeup. Okay, now apparently off camera though, I mean, listen. Now, as I chastise Josh, we get some tidbits about some things that we wouldn't have known about. Okay. Number one, Cliff had approached him off camera and had it out with him, basically threatening his job. Okay. Now, how is Cliff threatening his job at Goddess Lens? Because at the end of the day, Cliff, to my knowledge, does not own or work or manage, like do anything for the Goddess Lens. I thought that was Latrice's business. So I don't understand what he would have to do with, you know, the hiring and firing of the staff at the Goddess Links, unless he just got that type of, you know, God level powers. Okay. Emperor Almighty. Okay. That's going to be his new name. Emperor Almighty. Okay. Emperor Almighty, AKA Cliff, must got all the power. Okay. He is Thanos. Okay. For those of you who know, if you know who Thanos is. He is Thanos, and with the snap of his fingers of the Infinity Gauntlet, he can just pow, make Josh disappear. Okay, so Josh, you better beware. All right, he just might snap that finger and make you disappear from a business that's not his own. So anyway, I like Akeisha's advice because, and I like Akeisha a lot. I'm liking her. I feel like she's speaking some truth in these scenes, baby. She's speaking some truth. She basically tells him, like, listen, that's their marriage. She gonna always choose her husband, so you need to stay out of it. Period. You also need to be looking for some other options for work because if this man is Thanos and can snap his fingers like that and you be gone, if he is God, Emperor Almighty, then he can just make you disappear. So you better be finding some other place that you can possibly go to work for because at the snap of a finger, you're gone. All right. So she also delivers this nice little quote that says, nothing better than a bought lesson. And that's from her grandmother, she said. And she says, baby, you paid for that one. All right. And I like that. I had to write it down. So speaking of Latrice, she stops by Letitia Pearson Enterprises. And did she bypass the receptionist? Or I was like, did you just not see her there? Okay. I was like, and have we seen the receptionist before? Or was that my first time ever? Like, I had never noticed the receptionist before. Hey, receptionist. Okay. Welcome to the family. So anyway, Latrice has a speaking event coming up for a self-care brunch. So she's coming to the best of the best. She's got to talk to Letitia Pearson. Okay. Got to talk to the Letitia Pearson. Now they get to talking about their husbands. They talk after they talk about the event. They do a little testing with Latrice, doing some, some mock speaking, and she's got a lot of work to do. And they get to talking about GLEN and the whole GLEN has on Letitia, and she talks about how she's afraid to leave him, or she feels like she'll never be free of him. That's the thing. We're gonna talk more about that in a little bit, because that's a fallacy, Miss Letitia. That's a fallacy right there. That's a fallacy. And you know what's funny? So let me tell you something, a little story. I'm gonna tell it to you now because it makes sense. My dog, we have, he's a little older, right? So we have been keeping him in this is a pretty big, large size cage when we decide to go out, right? So that, if he, just has an accident or something like that, because he's older, then it happens within the confines of the sort of enclosure that we have him in. Now, there's a little door to it, right? So I've gone to the gym, I had run some errands, but I left when I came back in, I didn't realize that I had left the door open. So as I come back in, I hear him, kind of doing the little whining thing or whatever. And I was like, no, why is he whining? So I had to go back in and double check. So I'm looking at him as he's standing there whining and whimpering, because usually that's when he wants to come out. And I'm like, now see, this is a perfect example of sometimes we are stuck in a cage of our own making, because at the end of the day, the door to the sectioned off space was wide open. So he had full range of the house. Okay. But at the end of the day, what happened was, for whatever reason, now maybe this is just good training, but he just did not leave the little cage in area, even though I'm home. And even though he had all rights, he could have just walked around the house. So in my mind, that's a perfect analogy for sometimes how we feel about situations in life, right? We feel like we are stuck. That is Letitia. She feels like she can't ever get away from this man. And we'll talk about it a little later. But at the end of the day, girl, the door is wide open. You only stuck because you think you are. But the door is always wide open for you to leave. And as much as I hate to say it, because, in meeting GLEN, I did really enjoy him. But that don't mean that you need to be with him. Okay? We can enjoy somebody for who they are and what they represent, but that don't mean that they the right person for you to be with. Okay? So anyway, I had to digress right there for a minute, because I had to really I had to really drive this point home. I hope it made sense to y'all, because I really had to go there. So anyway, they get into, TAMBRA, and, TAMBRA not wanting Akeisha in the group message, and how TAMBRA said Letitia must have misunderstood what she said when she said that. And, Letitia's just like, that girl is a liar, and the truth ain't in her. All right. I told y'all they are hammering in this point that they want us to know TAMBRA is a liar. All right. So TAMBRA does end up meeting with Marie. Okay. She's clueless about why everybody is kind of giving her the cold shoulder. And Marie tells her, girl, you tap dance and punani pop around topics and questions, and you are not transparent, and everything seems like lies. Why do you think that people think you're a liar? I was like, well, Miss Marie, you just basically laid it out flat. And I'm actually happy you did, because I feel like everybody had kind of been tiptoeing around this idea that, oh, TAMBRA's this liar, but nobody was saying it to her, right? So it was nice to see Marie lay it out to her plain. Okay. Now for TAMBRA, she don't understand this, because she has built an audience, through her radio following, and they trust her. They trust her. But let me just say this. When people are on the radio, and I'm going to give you a perfect example. TAMBRA is being asked to start a podcast. We'll learn more about that in another scene. And she says that she's able to talk more about things that she would never talk about on the radio, because her and her station manager or whomever are always asking, ooh, is the mic off? Now, that tells me that you can't really communicate with your audience the way that you claim that you were able to communicate with them for them to be able to trust you. You understand what I'm saying? So I feel like you ain't really giving your audience that much personal story. They may trust you with the news, they may trust you with doing interviews, but does that mean that they trust that they know who you are? And for instance, if you're going to be doing this podcast, you're basically saying to everybody that I'm using this podcast as a method for communicating with the audience things that I'm not allowed to communicate on the radio. Thereby, I can ascertain that the audience that is listening to you on the radio is not really getting either A, all of you, or B, the real you. So I do understand where the ladies have come from. And I do feel like to a certain degree, I understand it because I understand that field. When we go into, when I'm telling you guys, when you are trained in, news, broadcast journalism, mass communications, you are really trained that your subject matter is paramount. Okay. It's really about the subject. You are simply delivering the news topic, and you come from a place of authority because they think that you know what you're talking about, right? That you might be the expert, or you might be the consistent person that is providing them with that information. But typically, when we go to school for news, okay, when we go to school for broadcast journalism, we're not giving our opinions, okay? We are basically giving the facts of the situation, unless you go on to be some type of commentator, which it doesn't really sound like that's a lot of what TAMBRA is doing. And even if it is, I would wager that it's not so much so that you're actually getting a lot of her detail, like the details of her life, right? Versus what I'm able to do here on YouTube, or what somebody's able to do on a podcast, when they are really able to get down into the nitty gritty of, just different little things about them. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm able to tell you guys this story about my dog to make a point, to solidify a point so that you guys can understand it, and I can drive it home to you a bit more. I can personalize things a bit more than I can just sitting behind a news desk, reading a teleprompter, or giving, the blandest version of who I am, because really I've got to worry about what the station may think, what the advertisers may think. I've got to got to adhere to certain policies, and to a certain degree, even here on this platform, we still do have to adhere to these certain policies. But I'm a lot freer here in this space, so I get where she's coming from, but I also get why, because I've been there, why people don't feel like they actually know who you are, because I still feel like the TAMBRA that is on this show is still a TAMBRA that is presenting. Okay. But TAMBRA, of course, doesn't remember leaving Akeisha out of it, as much as Marie tells her, you did tell us you did not want to be in a group message with Akeisha. Okay. Marie isn't buying none of what TAMBRA is selling. But there is another topic that Marie needs to talk to TAMBRA about. So apparently, some ex from way back in the bowels of TAMBRA's past has resurfaced and arisen to basically confront this idea that TAMBRA has never been engaged before. So he has sent Marie some type of photos and whatnot. This is interesting to me, because I think that when these shows, and if you guys watch New Jersey, this is a perfect example of what happens, right? On these shows, cast members are approached by, I'm assuming, lots of people with lots of tea and stories and things like that. It's really up to the cast members' discretion as to whether or not they want to bring those things to camera. I don't necessarily know why Marie brought this thing to the camera, because I'm assuming that they all have heard these types of things and gotten this type of information on each other. So I think as a cast, it's usually just better to kind of leave that kind of stuff on the cutting room floor, because at the end of the day, I'm sure just like somebody is sending you stuff, they sending TAMBRA stuff, they sending Latrice stuff, they sending Gucci stuff, they sending Akeisha stuff, and I just feel like this is a slippery slope and a road that is not really worth going down, to really push this notion that, oh, she is not necessarily credible in the fact that, oh, she's never been engaged before. No, Tambra says, and I do believe this to a certain degree. I do believe that as Tambra says, no, the man only proposed to me. And if I said no, then that means that I wasn't engaged, unless she said yes. Okay. And that's another story. But, in my mind, even I had questioned, like, you ain't never been like, like in a living situation with another man. But listen, y'all chimed in the comments and y'all said, listen, it's possible. So I said, okay, let me back up off of that. At the end of the day, Marie thinks that Tambra is hiding her true self to protect her integrity, which is kind of weird, but I don't know. Because I feel like you would have more integrity if you were just open and honest, or at least a bit more transparent on camera. But I don't think that Tambra has managed to understand how to do that. I think she believes that she's doing it. But this Akeisha thing is throwing me because I'm just in having conversations with Tambra. I feel like she does feel genuine, but I think also too that I have a conflict because if you told these ladies that you would not be in a group message with Akeisha, I'm with Marie on that. Stand 10 toes down in it and just admit it and be like, yeah, I said it, and what's up? Period. Okay. Anyway, speaking of Akeisha, she meets with Latrice and her grandchildren at the yes, Latrice has some grandchildren, okay? And Akeisha is just as surprised as, just literally, I'm shocked, okay, that this woman has some grandkids. So anyway, the conversation comes up about Josh, what Josh told, Akeisha. And Latrice is rightfully annoyed because, like, why are you asking me these questions? And why is Josh running back and telling you private details about what we talked about? Now, granted, they ain't so private because they was on camera. But I get if we follow if we take away the cameras, it is kind of like, well, why is he having these types of conversations with you about my business? In my business at that, okay? He's talking about her business in her business establishment to somebody else who's coming to get some business done. How about that? Ain't that crazy? So anyway, Latrice then goes on to say, like, listen, I don't appreciate him doing that. Nobody in my camp should be coming back and spilling tea about me because I would not want to know about you from anybody in your camp. So that don't make no sense to me. And she realizes that she's going to have a little ponderosa with Josh about that. But at the end of the day, she does go into some discourse about, her and Cliff, and she kind of gives a lightweight version of it. You know what I'm saying? Nothing really much to go on there because she kind of glosses over it, but not enough meat there for Akeisha to sink her teeth into and really give some advice. Which I would love to really see them talk about it all, and hopefully we'll get to see that at some point. But Latrice does realize she needs to set some boundaries for her and Josh. Tambra and Damon have a date night, and okay, so some interesting things. She talks about this new podcast that she's being asked to do. It's called "Is the Mic Off" or whatever. I think it's with Quasi, the station manager, that the people are trying to say she's kind of like, looking a little frisky with. To me, that was something that should have been talked about with Marie and her versus going back in the depths from this guy that sent the photo in to somebody that she used to date from umpteen years ago. But anyway, I digress. Even in that situation with Quasi, I ain't seen nothing that looks untoward. So, we just going to have to take Gucci and D's word for it for now. But anyway, I was thinking to myself, like, number one, as she's telling him about the podcast, he's like, can I be on it? Sir, what do you do? Do you do anything in the commentary space? Why would she invite you to be on that? She don't even want to live in the same house with you. So I know she don't want to work with you. Also, we learned that Tambra feels like he bribed her into moving in with her. Now, girl, I got to call foul on this one because just because this man said the ring was in the house, girl, if the ring was really in the house, you could have just ran through and did a search of the house, okay? To be quite honest with you. Looked in the nooks and crannies. Go through his cabinets when he's not there or whatever you need to do. But at the end of the day, I just kind of feel like, did he? He bribed you, yes, maybe so. But did you really believe? If you didn't see no ring, then you should have went running for the hills, and you never should have left your other place. Okay, they get to talking about her cat cave or whatever they calling it. I guess that's her place that she's trying to get on the side. I don't know. It ain't making no sense. All I know is this: All right. Listen, girl, we ain't getting no younger. If the man is not presenting a ring for you, and you are and at the end of the day, you need to go ahead and leave, okay? Because it don't seem like he is in any rush. Because why should he buy the milk, the cow, when he can get the milk for free? He's getting the milk for free. You are living there. He's getting everything he needs. You should have, if you wanted that process to go the way that you want it to go, you should have waited for that ring. Period. Okay? Period. Pull. Period. All right? Meanwhile, Letitia meets with Gucci to sign the lease on her new condo. Now, apparently, this is going to actually be rented out by Marie, who also shows up. So Marie is going to be in Marie's name, but it's going to be for Latrice. I don't know about that. That's a recipe for disaster for Marie. Okay? Now, no disrespect to Letitia, but I'm just talking about a practical perspective. I understand. Yes, do it for your girlfriend. Do it for the vine. But at the end of the day, something go wrong in that space, just like what happened today, and now you got a whole mess of drama on your hands. So my advice to Marie is go ahead and let Letitia handle her relationship, just like Josh needs to let Latrice and Cliff handle their relationship, or excuse me, Emperor Almighty, aka Thanos. All right. And so she needs to back up off of it, because she in a mess of drama, as we're gonna talk about. So she's doing this so that Glenn won't have no rights to it, and it'll be in Marie's name and not Letitia, so he can't feel like he can just come there and stay there because the place is. But my thought is like, girl, Marie, you're not gonna be there in the heat of the night when that man come calling at midnight. What you gonna do? Because ain't nothing really open after midnight but legs. Okay, so let's say he come calling at midnight. Are you gonna be the COP, the citizen on patrol, and heading on over to her house? And when she sound the alarm, the silent alarm, or you gonna have a camera outside? You gonna have to install something, because that man gonna be over there in the middle of the night, creeping and jeeping and creeping, while all up under your roof, all up on your bed, okay? And they're gonna be popping it and locking it and dropping it all up on your kitchen counters, all up on your floor, up in your bathtub, boo, in your closets. Yes, because it's all yours, all right? And then Letitia, you better not ever fall out with Marie, because at the end of the day, now listen, I know that y'all girlfriends there through thick and thin, but listen, the wrong thing happened on these shows, and then you end up like Candy and Phaedra. So nope, I would say at the end of the day, do not do this. But it don't really matter, because it ain't gonna happen no way. Spoiler alert, because Glenn shows up. Oh yes, he does. First of all, how is he finding out where she at? Does he have her filming schedule? Is he checking her emails? Is he having her? He put an air tag on her. Like how did he find out? Did he call production and ask her what she was? Because he said he know everything. Okay, he know all about Marie and Letitia. And I'm like, no, what do you know? Yes. At the end of the day, okay. Let me backtrack. Marie wants this man to get out. Okay, get on out. Get on out. All right. They started talking about, well, before I get there, I forgot to tell y'all, Letitia tells Gucci that she had a ponderosa with Latrice, who said that Gucci couldn't produce. That's why she went with another realtor, because she's too busy taking photos for the gram. And so before they can really get into it, because Marie was about to go in on something about a lie that she felt like Latrice told about Gucci being the #1 realtor in the state. Okay, I hope you caught that. But Glenn shows up out of the blue. So they startled. How he get here? How he find her? Is Jackson? I swear he got the air tag on him. Anyway. So Marie is like, this is my place. This is not Letitia's place, because he upset that Letitia went behind his back and then found a new place. Brother, you do not own this woman. You are for the streets. You are for the internet streets, the IG streets. You are answering and responding to the people in the village, as Letitia says. So you, sir, have no claim on the queen. Okay, you don't, because you're too busy in the village. All right. too busy in the village. All right. So go back to the village is basically what Marie's saying. And you know what he tells her? You go back to Essie. You got a Essie. Essie, who we have not seen all season long. Where is Miss Essie? Where is Essie? Okay. So anyway, yes. And then he says, and go deal with that married man you dealing with. Now I was clueless. Was he calling Essie? Is the Essie supposed to be the married person that she dealing with? Because that won't nice, Glenn. That won't nice. Or was he talking about somebody else? I need to know what he was talking about. Then again, I don't care. It was just an odd thing to throw out there. So then they going off on each other, and essentially, like, Marie is not backing down. I was kind of like, yes, Marie, you tell him to get up out of your house. Tell him, girl, tell him, get him up out of there. Get him up out of your house. Not Letitia's house, yours. All right. Let me tell you why you should never do this, because I'm about to break it down for you. Just watch. So Letitia ended up having to pull him outside, telling him to chill. He not thinking clearly. So apparently he's been tracking and recording her. We got to get up into that. Okay. I need to know more about that. And so then Gucci advises Marie, girl, you need to make him leave because this is technically your place. So she steps outside and she says, Glenn, you got to go. You got to go. Okay. You got to go, girl. You got to go. And so Letitia ends up coming inside the house and Glenn's still going off. And Marie ends up slamming the door and says, you see, she came in, didn't she? Go on out there and find you some toys to play with. So he leaves. Letitia sits down and she's kind of upset. And she's like, you know, I'm just so scared to leave him because he got the abandonment issues. Girl, they are not your issues. They are his issues. His issues, not yours. You said it right. He has abandonment issues. He does not equal you. You and he are not a we because he is on the IG. Okay? In the IG streets, in the DMs. Okay? So let's get that straight. Your issues are not his issues, and his issues are not your issues because he chose what issues he wants to have. The IG issues, the street issues. Okay? So you don't need to keep taking these issues on. And at the end of the day, if your thought and your fear is, as she says it's not easy because Josh will still need his family in his life. Ain't nobody stopping that man from being a good daddy to that boy. Okay. If he any type of man that if he's half the man that I believe him to be, he will always be there for Josh. Period. But he can learn to live without you, just like you can learn to live without him. And you got to learn to let him live without you. That's the problem. That's what I mean by that cage that she in. Girl, the door is open. It's a mental thing. It is a mental prison that you are in because of his manipulation. Okay. And you are putting yourself in that mental prison. But baby, the day you open them doors and you realize I don't have to be here. How did we get here? Okay. You don't got to be there. All right. Step into your power. You are going and talking to all the women across the country, in the South, in the North, in the East, in the West, okay? And you are empowering these women. But at the end of the day, the person that you most need to empower right now is yourself. All right? So then get this. This is why I say, don't sign nobody. Don't prepare yourself to sign nobody, no property for nobody else. Letitia says, then, you know what? This is not a new beginning for me. I can't do this property. Gucci, I'm going to have to double up on your commission. Gucci still ain't got no property. You might want to be mad at her now. Okay? Like you mad at Latrice. Because this was some drama, baby. This was some drama. You had gotten her a fully furnished apartment that she won't even go sign her. The girl, she had a girlfriend that was going to sign for her. Okay? A good girlfriend, Marie. Marie, let this be a lesson to you. Don't be signing no apartments for nobody. Don't be signing no condos for nobody. Because at the end of the day, something go wrong. You got the husband that's still coming around. There's all kinds of things popping off. Now you up in the drama. Now look at you. Ain't nobody winning. Now she got to go. Now Letitia got to go back home and try to figure out what she gonna do, where she gonna live. Okay. All because this man is running up around, following her, got the air tags in. I don't know. Clip maybe Clip ain't Thanos. Maybe it's Glenn.